To start off this video, I have a 2005 Scion XA, and what happens is it keeps blowing starter fuses, and the problem was it wouldn't start and it wouldn't start, and I got out, got the book, checked where the fuses were, and this is the cover, and I found that the number 15 amp break fuse was blown, and that's right where my fingernail is here. I got it out because this is the second time that it's popped that fuse. So I'm not going to put one in it right now. So I think it's an overdraw, which could be, I think, the starter. The starter might be very old, and the bushings are very old, and therefore the motor is binding up and shorting out and then blowing the fuse. I mean, it could get to the point where you got to tap on it, and then it'll start, but I don't want to go there. I don't want to get there. So I'm going to pull the starter out. I'm going to put it on the bench. I'm going to check the clearance on the bushings, and if they're too shabby, I'm going to see if I can get some bushings. And while I'm at it, I will probably check that starter solenoid also, because that could be the problem. And it, you know, I did check one time and it just didn't want to turn, but it clicked. The solenoid pulled in and the starter started turning, but it was kind of sounded like it might have been binding a little bit, or because it was hard. Now, I don't think it's anything with the motor, because I've never had that problem before. So I'm going to go there, have to pull that starter out first, and that's back there, under there, and one bolt's in the, looking at the picture there, it's the one on the left side is from underneath, and the one on the right side top would be in the back of it, this side. So I have to take this hose off, and maybe I might take this hose off also, so I can get my hand in there freely. So I'll get it all apart. I'm not gonna bore you with the. Okay, I'm gonna quickly run over the things you have to disconnect. You have to take off the intake hose here, okay, there, this disconnects, okay, and then there's another hose that goes over here, and this is one of the hoses that goes to the body, and this one is the hose for the intake, okay, from the filter to the intake. Now you have there's this one little screw here that you have to take off. And that comes out of this here. Okay? So you have to take that out. Don't lose it. Alright? That fastens to this tab here, which you probably want to put some anti-seize on it. And I use this brand, but you could get your own. It's silver, okay, and it's just an anti-seize lubricant. I always put it on all my bolts. I don't want to, because I always take it apart and fix it myself, so I want to be able to get it apart. Okay? So, that's the fuse that blew for 15. Okay. Now, up underneath here, you have to pull this dust cover off. Okay? The dust cover, there's a screw here on the frame. There's a couple screws, but one's busted. But you know, I'll have to drill that out someday and fix it. And there's some other screws. These screws on the bottom were fairly easy because they're like in plastic. Okay. Now here's the starter right there. And the bottom, that's 14 millimeter here. Then up here, 13 millimeter on the wire. Okay. And that's the large wire. And then there's also a little small connector that unplugs out of this socket here. Now there's another bolt in the back. I'll get that and I'll have the starter out. Now you want to be sure that you disconnect the ground on the battery before you start this. Okay? You don't want to have an accident, because that is a hot wire under there. Okay, this is just in case you can't find that back bolt. Now if you look, there's a hydraulic cylinder because it's standard. Okay? Now if you look above that, there's a bolt. Now I'm going to point to it. I'm going to put my finger on it, I think. Right there. That's the bolt. Okay, there's a hydraulic cylinder. And that's the back bolt. Just in case you can't find it. It's 14 millimeter. I got the starter out. As you can see, the aluminum here is pretty corroded. So I'm going to have to clean that up. And I'm sure the ground in this area was not good at all. And I did find another problem. Okay. Okay, now you can see a little bit better. The ground between the starter and the block is very bad. First of all, you can see right there that some water got down in there and it didn't have a very good connection. It's all black. And the bottom one is all black. So, bad ground right away. And the starter does need a ground and needs a good connection. This all should be cleaned down, wire brushed. This is black. Got black corrosion on it. And the top one's got a rusted corrosion on it. So I'll have to clean that off and then I'll get back to that. Now here's a starter. This is all corroded here. And this is all corroded. This is the top one. This is definitely didn't have a good ground. And another problem I found was that you have to check is that this terminal, this large terminal, the nut that was onto the cable is all corroded, and it's even black in a couple spots where this was loose. I took this out by hand, just with an extension and a 13 millimeter, and it came right off. I mean, it wasn't even tight. Now, the terminal, here's the terminal, and as you can see, there's rust on there. It's all rusted. did not have a connection. And so that's got to be all cleaned up. So remember to clean these areas. And I'm going to take that bottom nut off and check that one also while I'm at it. And then this will not be a problem anymore. So review this. It's very important to have a good ground here, and the power cable coming down, it shouldn't be rusty, and the nut was loose, so it will overdraw and break the circuit, the fuse will blow, which is this 15 amp. I'm sorry about my camera, it's a cheapie, and it's not zooming in very well. Okay, so let's clean her up and then get it back in. This is the power to the battery. Now, as you can see, this is all rusted too. So, even though that nut on this side, and that's all, rusty, and you can see the burnt marks on it. This was the problem. It was the overdraw, and the wire was loose, and it would burn that 15 amp fuse out, and that was the problem. So you want to be sure you clean that up too with a piece of sandpaper. It's all sanded off. Sanded it. I have to get under the car and sand that off, or wire brush it. I've got this, can't see it that good, but I've got this all cleaned off. And I checked this one, okay? And a little thing about this anti-seize material, do not put that around this starter, okay? You want it tight, like metal against metal with nothing in between it. I wouldn't even put it on the bolts, because the bolts kind of help ground it, okay? The bolts are dirty also, so I'm going to clean those up. And then I should be able to put it back in. What I'm doing now is I'm using this Dremel here to clean off the, it's got sandpaper on the end, so I'm going to try to stick it in that hole there on the wire and both sides, and try to sand that off a little bit, because that's pretty bad. Alright, back to the cleaning. You can get this plastic guard off. You just have to be careful, because it has little clips on it, and then just push it back out of your way, and then you can clean it. But as you can see, this is pretty shiny now, both sides, so I'm going to be good with this. Okay, so that's clean. Now I have to do the bottom, and then I'm going to put it all back together, and then we're going to be all set. But like I said, don't forget these bolts. Just wire brush them, and and sand the lips on these, so you get a good ground here, good ground here. It's obvious that I can't really reach that back one. I might try it with a little piece of paper, but I know I can get this, the front part. So I'm going to put it back together, and then I'll get back to you. I'm all done cleaning the starter up. The terminals, put a new fuse in it, 15 amp fuse in it. Works perfect. I've done it a few times. I'm pretty confident that was the problem, connection. So I'm going to try to start it one more time. I'm not going to cross my fingers or anything. I'm just going to expect it to start. So there you go. It was a starter connection problem, why it wouldn't start up. So doing a lot of work on this car. Put an exhaust on it, put a front fairing on it, and I've cleaned the headlights up. As you can see, they're pretty shiny now. And I put a shield in the back over the top of the exhaust manifold because it didn't have one. I don't know. It must have fell out or something. So I took a piece of metal and formed it and screwed it on there. Other than that, it's in good shape, ready to go.